We would love to see it. The American people should see this data.
Well, here's the rhetoric again, right? You just meant disappeared. That is a ridiculous thing to say.
Why?
Because ICE is doing the same thing we've done for decades. But because of the last 4 years, ICE wasn't allowed to enforce the law. ICE was told to sit back, and you can't arrest an illegal alien for simply being here illegally. You got to wait till they commit a serious crime and get convicted of that crime. That's what Secretary Mayorkas' instructions were. And that's why you saw there's so much crime in this country coming from the illegal alien population, because there's no law enforcement. But
Tom Homan humiliates woke media with facts. This is another amazing story connecting the Supreme Court ruling on the LA crackdown, and I hope you enjoy this one.
And look, the Supreme Court just agreed with us. I said from day one that the law enforcement officers are enforcing the law and acting within the law. Every ICE officer, every 6 months, has to go through Fourth Amendment training, refresher training, on what's required by law to detain, question, seize, arrest. So these are well-trained officers doing exactly the right thing. And the hateful rhetoric and the false stories are causing an attack on these men and women. I want people to remember, the men and women of ICE, they're mothers and fathers too. They don't hang their heart on the hook when they go to work. They strap a gun to the hip, they put a Kevlar vest on to arrest the worst of the worst and make this country safer.
Mr. Homan, how would you define a criminal? And I'm curious, is a person who is living in this country, paying taxes, has a license, has a job, and has kids serving in the U.S. military, but is still in the process of getting legal papers, is that person a criminal?
Now, this is the narrative that mainstream media has been pushing for months. They conflate cases, they mix up statistics, they mix up incidents, and then they make it look like President Trump wants anyone that doesn't look Caucasian and European out of the country. And this is part of the hateful rhetoric that keeps getting spread, that causes people to claim that the ICE operatives are the N-word. So it is interesting to see how they spread these narratives. And even after Tom Homan responds and sets the record straight in this interview, I guarantee you that narrative is still going to keep popping up on TDSBC.
Well, every case is different, but when I'm talking,
I'm asking about that case.
No,
because there's been that case.
No, they are not. From what you just told me, they're not a public safety threat. However, if they're in the country illegally, that is not okay either. So should that person be put in a car, like surrounded by ICE agents wearing masks and dragged into a car and detained? I don't know the specifics of that case, but let me say this.
That seems to be the answer for any case that has happened that you don't want to talk about, because there are cases across the country where people who are paying taxes, who have licenses, who are in the process of trying to get legal papers, are they criminals? Especially those who have kids who have served in the U.S.
Now, you have these straw man situations. Now, I'm not saying that these cases don't exist, but where are the names? Because she's talking about a hypothetical individual. She isn't calling any names. If these people existed, they would have the names, they would have the photos, they might even have the family member in the studio to press their case with Tom Homan. They don't. This is where we have a huge problem with left-leaning media. They come up with all of these straw man arguments, they come up with conflated stories, and then they try to make it look like, okay, well, is this person? And this is an avatar, not a real person. Give us the name of this person. Tell us the name of their child who serves in the military, and then it becomes a real person.
U.S. military. And no, they're not a public safety hazard.
Are you going to let me answer the question?
Yes, sir.
I don't know the facts of that case. I don't know what you're talking about. I have to look at the facts of the case. However, I will say this. If they're in the country illegally, that is not okay. And people think illegal immigration is a victim of crime, and it's not. I don't know the case. I don't know the public safety threat. But I will say this. There are millions of people standing in line, taking their tests, doing the background investigation, paying the fees to be part of the greatest nation on earth. And the people who are doing things the right way are sitting on the back seat while we had millions of people come across the border in the Biden administration and cheated the system.
Now, does that sound like someone who's a racist? Does that sound like someone who doesn't want anyone else to come into the country? He's highlighting the fact that they support legal processes for getting into the country as an immigrant. What they are cracking down on is people, millions of people, who strolled across the border undocumented, and a bunch of them proceeded to commit heinous crimes within the US, and these people are being hunted by ICE and taken back to their countries.
People can call them asylum seekers all they want, but if you look at immigration court data, nearly 9 out of 10 people who claim asylum at the border under Biden end up with an order of removal because they don't qualify for asylum. They're pushing themselves to the front of the line, and there are thousands of people in the world who actually are escaping fear and persecution from their homeland. They're sitting in the back seat while people violated laws, disrespected this nation. If you want to be a part of the greatest nation on earth, there's a right way and wrong way to do it. So if you're in the country legally, you may not be a priority because we prioritize public safety threats and national security threats, but it's not okay to be in this country legally.
Okay, so is it fair to say that if someone is in the process of trying to get their paperwork straight and they have kids who have served in the U.S. military and they're paying taxes and they have a license, is it fair to say that that person is not a threat to society and not a criminal?
You know, it gets tiring when you have these conversations with people who lean left. It's as if you're talking to a brick wall. An answer was just given. He answered the question earlier. He says, this person doesn't sound like they are violent or a threat. However, they did break the law by remaining in the country. And that's a very simple answer. Now, we can be sympathetic to their case. However, laws are laws. And like I've said earlier, these are laws that were enacted by Congress under a Democrat president. So when the Democrats line up behind microphones and give their speeches and talk about how this is an authoritarian move by the Republican president, Donald Trump, it just smacks of hypocrisy because this was a law that was put in place by them. And let's remember that Barack Obama was known as the deporter-in-chief. So it's amazing when you hear them do this and they want to pose and take the higher ground and seem to be morally superior to someone who's simply carrying out laws that were ratified by a Democrat Congress.
Do they have a criminal history? Have you seen the intelligence? Do you have a?
I'm just asking. Do you consider someone who is trying to get their papers now, struggling, and has kids who serve in the military, has a license and pay taxes? Is that in your mind a criminal?
I wish Tom Homan, and if anyone knows Tom Homan, please pass this along. Tell him to ask them for the specifics of the case, the name of this individual that they are talking about. You'll find out that they don't have one. They don't exist. They'll tell you how the person, disappeared. Okay, so there's a child in the military. Definitely that person should be reachable. So these straw men that they keep raising don't exist.
Is that someone you want your ICE agents to take off the street?
I just explained the real data that I see every day, that a mass 70% are criminals, public safety threats, and the rest are national security threats. People with final orders. I don't know who this case. Do they have a final order? Have you seen a background investigation or the investigation that was built upon by the ICE agent? What's involved in that case? Things that you may not know. So unless I know the specifics of that case and I have the file in front of me, I can't make that determination.
Well,
if they're a threat
I would like to see that data that you're talking about, the 70%, the criminal history. I'd love some transparency as to why a lot of these people have been disappeared. You say you have data.
Again, another word, another dog whistle. People on the left like to talk about dog whistles. This is a dog whistle. When they say people are disappeared, when someone is arrested by ICE, we know where they are. Okay? They were picked up by ICE. Go to any ICE office and then ask for the records of that arrest. It's really simple. This is not Gestapo-run Germany or the Soviet Union. So when they say these words on live TV, recklessly spreading hate and fear into the population, and then they turn around and accuse the Trump administration of being divisive, of being agents of chaos, they are the ones spreading the hate and the fear and the chaos. And again, now she's asking for records and data. Well, I would say the records and data are publicly available, and I'm sure that Tom Homan is going to give her the right answers. But I would always go back to saying, all these straw men that they keep bringing up, that is a justification for them opposing the operations of a federal law enforcement team in ICE. Okay, that straw man has to have a name. And you know that that's the right way to do this. Let me know in the comments if you agree.
We would love to see it. The American people should see this data.
Well, here's the rhetoric again, right? You just meant disappeared. That was a ridiculous thing to say.
Why?
Because ICE is doing the same thing we've done for decades. But because of the last 4 years, ICE wasn't allowed to enforce the law. ICE was told to sit back, and you can't arrest an illegal alien for simply being here illegally. You got to wait till they commit a serious crime and get convicted of that crime. That's what Secretary Mayorkas' instructions were. And that's why you saw there's so much crime in this country coming from the illegal alien population, because there's no law enforcement. But we're doing the same thing right now that we did when I started back in 1984. ICE agents are enforcing the laws enacted by Congress. They're appropriated funding to enforce these laws. If you don't like what ICE is doing, then go protest Congress. However, to say we disappeared people, no. We're arresting people that are in the country illegally and are public safety threat. We know exactly who we're going to arrest when we go look for them. We have a case file in front of us. We have all those facts. This is not disappearing people. This is a planned, targeted enforcement operation that we're doing. And comments like you just made is one of the reasons why these men and women are under threat every day. Not just the men and women in ICE, but their spouses and their children. They're not disappearing people. They're enforcing the law. And the data proves that 70% of these people are criminals.
Could we see that data?
Absolutely. I have no problem sharing any data from it. I read it every morning.
Well, there you have it. Tom Homan humiliates woke media with facts. And of course, TDS-BC still running interference in tandem with the Democrat Party for criminals. Well, let me know what you think of this video, and I'll catch you on the next one.